Welcome to the year-end edition of This Week in Plymouth. I'm Donna Rodriguez and joined as always by Derek Brindisi, the town manager for the town of Plymouth. Derek, thanks for coming back today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Donna. I'm happy to be back. This is the last episode of the year.
I know, and this has been a really busy year. 9 months since you've been back as town manager, and a lot has happened.
Yeah, so what I've always liked to do in all my previous positions, whether work in the city of Worcester or in Upton, is kind of like always look back on the 12 previous months and say, like, what have we accomplished this past year? And I have to say, I came to the town in March, and there was a lot going on as far as new town manager, new additional staff. We were appointing a new fire chief. The police chief had just been appointed like 6 months prior.
Still coming out of the pandemic
Coming out of the pandemic. And we had no assistant town manager, so we had to fill that position. And then 30 days after my arrival, we had a vacancy in the human resources director's position. So I feel like the first 3 or 4 months just kind of flew by because there was so much happening. Oh, in between all that, we were having 2 town meetings. So we had the annual town meeting in April
and then
the special town meeting in June. So there was a lot happening that I would say that it really made the transition more of a challenge because there was so many vacancies, like administrative vacancies that we were trying to fill. And at the same time, like for myself personally, trying to impart a vision with town staff, what I could envision the town moving forward with, and really trying to get to know my board members. You know, I have 5 select board members that I report directly to on a daily basis, and you know, I was new to them, they were new to me, so there was a lot going on in the first few months there.
But it's pretty amazing what you all put together, because by summer you already had, and we've got the goals and priorities that the board and you and the department heads came together to work on for the year, and it's amazing what you've already accomplished in this short period of time. Yeah,
and we've done a lot, and hopefully we can touch on some of those things today. I can tell you, this document that was finally ratified by the board over the summer, and it was in large part it was a compilation of all of our divisions and department heads providing information, working with the select board to have this kind of one common set of goals moving forward. But yeah, my hope is by, I would say, the May-June time period, so this is on a fiscal year cycle, that it's my goal to develop a comprehensive report to look back on that fiscal year and everything we've accomplished. But I can certainly talk to you this afternoon about all the things we've done for the previous 9 months, and I can tell you that some of the things that people see on a regular basis is just kind of the infrastructure improvements that have been completed or have started this past year. So prior to my arrival, the town had started with the bulkhead project down to the harbor. That's been completed. We have this great new bulkhead that set the stage for new floats that are going to be installed next year. The pilings are going to be relocated next year in front of the bulkhead, so we're expecting to have more space for our dinghies to tie up. We're hoping to have more space for the 15-minute tie-up. So, a lot of that started prior to my arrival, was completed this year, and we'll move forward next year with that project. As you know, the West 2 fires, the West Plymouth Fire Station, also known as Station 2. That project is well underway. We're hoping to cut the ribbon in about 12 months from today, so December 2023. So we'll have a brand new fire station over on West Plymouth again.
You can see the progress just driving by. A lot has been done in that area. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You get that one, and then you have the fire station down in Manamet that it was approved at the April town meeting. So the fire chief has been working with the contractor on issuing that bid. We're hoping to break ground probably in the spring, summertime period. And then just most recently, the board approved approximately $400,000 to renovate Allerton Street Park. So if you go to the Allerton Street Park, it's definitely, I don't know the last time it was renovated, but it's seen its day. So we're starting that project this month. We're hoping to have it completed by the spring. So, as far as infrastructure, there's definitely a lot of things that have been happening throughout the town. Oftentimes we only talk about what's happening downtown Plymouth, but it's really happening in various various neighborhoods throughout the town.
And a lot of the work that's being done is not just for today, but it's setting the town up and its residents up for the future. As you said, infrastructure with the fire department, it's safety. When we're talking about the waterfront, it's not just in allowing temporary visitors, but all of the work that's being done down there is helping to increase industry, it's helping to increase tourism. We're looking at, finally, what's been talked about for years, the potential of small cruise ships coming in, which would be a huge benefit to the town if and when that happens for the economy.
Yeah, we were really hoping to check that box off this fall. We continue to engage American Cruise Lines on that. Having small cruise ships is actually in the harbor plan. And so, that's one more item. The Harbor Committee, working with the Harbor Master, they continue to work on. We're hopeful that, we can come to successful negotiations with the American Cruise Lines. We're working with the fishermen, the lobstermen that use that. We want to make sure that they continue to have their space, but at the same time provide space for cruise lines to come in, because that pier was built with state and local dollars, so it's public space. So we want to make sure that it's not just for one industry, but it's for many different industries, and really delivers on the vision that the harbor Harbor Master Plan had been committed to for years ago.
So it really is, I think, exciting. As a resident and somebody who's worked in the community for years, it's really wonderful to see all of this work happening and see everything moving forward for the future. So in addition to what people can see physically with the infrastructure, there's a lot else that's been happening too for safety and infrastructure. Do you want to talk about 311?
So 311, we just had a meeting today down at the Emergency Operations Center, and it was a meeting around storm preparation, and what are we going to do? We have a storm that's coming up, heavy wind and rain event that's coming up, but we had already planned this event, today's meeting, to talk about future weather events, and one of the common conversation pieces this morning was about 311, because what 311 does for the town, it allows the public to engage town officials on things that are happening in their neighborhood that they need assistance with. It could be anything from as simple as, I got a pothole in front of my house, could be something storm related, like there's a tree down on my road, could be flooding. It could be really anything, where the residents, once they understand how to access the 311 system, they can communicate with town officials on a regular basis, so that we can be efficient and can respond as quickly as possible to any of our resident needs. And so that was approved. The funding for that program was approved at the fall town meeting. We're expecting that the project completion period around February 1st. So we're trying to fast track that a little bit, because we really wanted it to be up and running for this year's winter season.
Okay. And also along with that, with other ways that you've been communicating with residents, is there's a lot of work going on the website. It's very simple. When you go to the town website now, you're seeing the most recent information right there. It's easy to get quick updates on things. It's easy to find agendas for meetings. So as residents, we can keep up with what's happening in government.
Yeah. So I told the story this morning at this meeting when. So I had interviewed for the position. I had been offered the position last January time period, and I remember tracking the big nor'easter that hit the town in January of last year. So from afar, I knew I was going to be coming to town. So there were a couple weaknesses that I thought. We didn't have the 311 system. This clearinghouse where we can gather information so that we can deploy resources. But the other piece I thought was a glaring weakness was the lack of communication on the town's part to the residents. And so when I finally arrived here, one of my personal goals was to strengthen our communications efforts. We've been able to hire Anthony Sinesi, who's done a great job really being the backbone of communications efforts. So, whether that's issuing press releases for grant award announcements or press releases around weather events, or just on a regular basis, just communicating with the public with social media. I hope we're doing better than we were 9 months ago. But as you know, this is the field that you're in. You cannot communicate enough with the public. So, and that's kind of our mantra. Listen, it's never enough when it comes to communications. And so, that's something we're going to continue to work on this year and future years.
One of the things that you did recently that I thought was wonderful too was around the holidays, just opening town hall up for families and kids to come through, just making sure everybody feels completely comfortable and welcome and wanting to be a part of town hall.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. And we probably touched on it right after Halloween, but I can tell you though, when I look at town hall, in the past, it's this governmental brick structure sitting in the middle of our business district. But we're a business, right? We're a $300 million enterprise. And why aren't we working with the local businesses on activities that are happening in town? And so, when someone mentioned to me that the Chamber of Commerce puts on this annual trick-or-treating event, I was talking to the Director of Human Resources, Silvio, and I said, how can we get involved in that? And him and his team, they put it all together. And then everyone in Town Hall really loved participating. They all decorated their offices, their floors, and we had trick-or-treaters. And so what it did is we had all, these children on Court Street that were trick-or-treating, but now we were a part of that conversation. Right. So that happened, and then the tree lighting event. So now we have this gorgeous Christmas tree right on the front lawn. My wife and I, we went to the tree lighting event, and I can tell you, it was shoulder to shoulder. It was. I thought, being a Disney person, it was busier than Disney was, like in the Magic Kingdom when they have the fireworks. It was so busy. So, those are just some really small ways that we thought we could do to be more participatory in what's happening in the downtown business district. This year we started it. Next year we hope it's going to be bigger and better, and we'll keep building on it for years to come.
It definitely is a family favorite and a community favorite, and has grown every year. So it's exciting to see Town Hall be a part of it. Some of the other things that that town has been doing to really improve services and improve the future of the town is really looking at our environmental issues. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments this year in green communities?
Yeah. So it's interesting that we're having this conversation today because we just received notification this morning, or actually late last night, that the town has finally received its green community designation. So,
that's excellent.
It's interesting because when I look at Plymouth, we're a big organization, and a lot of smaller communities have already been green community designated, and that's a lot of work. And we have Mark Real, our climate resiliency planner, David Gould, our director of environmental affairs, Patrick Farah over at conservation and energy, collectively working with the various committees that support our work. They were able to put an application forward and become designated. Now that brings, I think, $275,000 grant.
That's wonderful.
That we can put more towards planning. And then what it does is sets us up for future project grant opportunities. Once you become designated, now you can apply for funds in order to implement some green community efforts. So that is another major accomplishment that, again, just announced last night. But there's another thing that the board had supported this past year. I think it was this past fall. We started to look at electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. And we went to the board and said, listen, we don't know what electric vehicles are going to bring in the future, although there are many conversations that, like, by 2035, the only vehicle you're going to be able to purchase in Massachusetts will be an electric vehicle. So let's start planning for that if that were to come. And so, using ARPA dollars, the board supported the acquisition of 3 electric vehicles. So we have 2 Bolts and 1 Lightning. The Lightning is looks like a Ford F-350 pickup truck. It's really big, but these are electric vehicles, and so we have 3 of them that we're piloting right now. No maintenance, no motors, no oil changes. They are, as far as from a maintenance standpoint, almost like zero maintenance as far as other than changing the tires here and there. And I can tell you, the folks in the community, when some of our inspectors drive up to an inspection, they have an electric vehicle. It's amazing the response we get. They're saying, wow, now the town is thinking along these lines as well. So again, kudos to that group that pulled together, this pilot project around electric vehicles as well.
And it also extended to the tourism industry and the hospitality industry in town this summer as well, because I know that you have charging stations at Town Hall and See Plymouth worked with a local company and with a number of other departments in town to bring in a short-term transportation company that was all electric vehicles, and that was very
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, when you think of Steve Plymouth and Lee Filson, the great work that they're doing, they actually started the conversation. We just kind of follow their lead. But you're right. They have their electric carts that they, pick up and drop folks off for to kind of help promote tourism. But working with Desmond over at Park Plymouth, we were able to install electric charging stations at Town Hall. We're actually working on a grant right now and working with Park Plymouth on expanding by doubling the number of electric charging stations at Town Hall as well.
Great.
So hopefully we'll see something in late spring, early summer, an expansion of that as well. So again, when you think of being environmentally sound, it's kind of it's a team effort. It just can't be the town. We all have to pitch in.
And you've also been doing work through economic development. There was the Blue Economy conference that was in town just in October, talking about some of the amazing businesses that are here and the industries that are already here that are really promoting blue economy and green economy for moving forward in the future.
Yeah, and if Steve Cole was here now, he could probably talk for the next 2 hours about the blue
Yes.
economy. And I've learned so much from Steve.
He's so passionate about it.
Right, about economic development and the things that we need to be thinking about. And when I talk to Steve and the folks in the foundation, they're not looking at the traditional economic development issues. They're looking at where we need to be in 10, 15 years from now, and thinking about how can Plymouth carve out this niche. And I do think the blue economy is probably one place. I think we have about 35 miles of coastline that we can really carve out a niche here in Massachusetts and New England.
Now, tell me also, because I know you were talking with Julie last week about the budget, and when you talk about the green economy, when we talk about the green community designation, opportunities for more grants, that really has been something that the town has invested time and energy in, and have done a really good job in bringing in funding through a number of different grant opportunities.
Yeah, so we have a grant writer now, Tiffany Park. This is a new position. I think she started right around in January.
Mm-hmm. But she's a long-term employee of the town.
Long-term employee. She's been
knows
with
the
us
town well.
probably 15 years at least now. And she does a great job. She's, to be a grant writer, you have to be very focused and very diligent, and she's the perfect person for that job. But what's great about her work is, the town's has always done well with grant applications, but she's now the quarterback of all that, and you can already see the fruits of her labor and quarterbacking how we apply for grants, how we search for grants, and then how we receive them, and then follow up on regular quarterly updates. But you think about some of the announcements we made this past year. So just last week, the Seaport Council's here and gave the town $1 million towards the renovation of the town boat ramp. The
There's some coastal resiliency monies that came into town this year too.
The revetment project, which is being funded through the Army Corps of Engineers, $25 million.
That's phenomenal.
There was another $2 million for beach nourishment at Long Beach. I mean, these aren't $50,000 grants. These are multi-million-dollar grants that the town has received, during this period of time. So. And this is just in year one. So you can imagine, once we really hit our stride around grants, the work we'll be able to do. And that doesn't include the money that we received from the county commissioners on opera. That was probably close to another, $6-7 million right there alone.
And the Department of Transportation, there was a grant there this summer too, wasn't there? Streets and Roads, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the town has done. We should. Part of this fiscal year review is I want to look at all of the different grants. And again, I would bet you we will probably close to $40 million in grants in calendar year 22.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And even though we're in a very difficult financial climate with the annual operating budget, some folks would say, why are we freezing positions when we have all this other money? Well, that money as you know, is
designated.
designated for a very specific purpose, and we can't use it for operating funds. It's like ARPA, that money's designated for water, sewer infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, and you wouldn't want to use that money for your annual operating budget. So again, a lot of work that had taken place around just the whole grant effort this past year.
Now, there's also been, so many departments have been so active within the town, and just with not more, but ongoing increasing engagement with the community as people were starting to reconnect again, coming out of the pandemic. There's been a lot going on at the Cal. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the community events and activities that have been happening?
Yeah, so the Cal, the library, even recreation. I mean, they're kind of like really the boots on the ground when we talk about like engaging at a social service level, right? Those three in particular, and you look at some of the announcements just that came out of the Center for Active Living this past year. Michelle Brady, as you know, she does an amazing job at the Cal. I cannot say enough about her, but this past, I want to say it was late spring, Michelle announced Cal Express, which is a fully funded grant program. It was a partnership with GATRA and others to provide free transportation for all of our seniors to Cal, to and from. So again, some seniors, they're homebound, they don't have the ability to get out, they can't afford to take a taxi or an Uber to get there. So with Cal Express, we can get them out of the house, we can bring them to the new Cal Cafe, right, which was the other announcement that just took place, I want to say 5-6 weeks ago. So now we have a chef that provides breakfast and lunch service Tuesday through Friday over at the Cal. It's not just for seniors. Any one of us can go there and have a breakfast and lunch there. And I had the opportunity to go to the Cal on Monday, and we just kind of did another tour. And if you look at that space where the Cal Cafe is, one, I think, that place has been open for 10 years, and that kitchen was really underutilized. Now this whole cafe atmosphere is there. They have booths that are there. They have high tops that are there. And it's funny because they said they have it's standing room only, to the point where they're looking at buying more tables and chairs because the Cal Cafe is such a success.
And I think people more and more are realizing what our friends at the Cal have said for years, that everybody always used to say that's for old people. It's for everybody. And it's for ages starting 55. They never turn anybody away. It's a place for community engagement. It's a place to receive services and support and get information and just meet other people, other neighbors. It's really a phenomenal community center is what it's become.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a community center when you really think about it. The way you defined it was perfect, because in the old days it was called the senior center.
Right.
And when you call it the senior center, then the only people that think that they can go there are seniors. But you're absolutely right. The police department goes there once a month on Fridays.
Coffee with cops.
Just to do coffee with cops. And
it's really, really popular.
It's super popular. And from what the chief tells me, he said, the police officers now volunteer to go there, during roll call. In the old days, like, okay, who's going there? And now they're saying, Chief, can I go? They're all excited to go there. And especially after COVID, that's what it's all about. Like, meeting our residents for where they're at, whatever stage that they're in. And, again, Michelle does such a great job. And even some of the work they're doing, being led by Selectman Harry Helmer on being a dementia-friendly community.
Yes.
They just received a grant. Thank you to BID for their contribution, so that we can start an assessment of the community, so that we can begin the beginning steps of being a dementia-friendly community. So again, you can't say enough about the work of the library and the Cal and everything that they're doing.
Now, I guess at this point, what are your biggest takeaways so far from this year? What are the things that have been, to you as an employee of the town and the town manager, what has impacted you the most and that you are the most proud of right now?
The most proud? That's a good question. You put me on the spot on that one. So, well, I would say, so first of all, I'll speak for myself. Like, I love being here. I'm happy. I was selected by the board to come back and be their town manager. The community is unbelievable, and everyone you talk to say that. So that's me as a person. As the town manager, we have a lot of work to do. And I can tell you something right now. I didn't come here to meet the status quo, and I've said that from day one. If they wanted the status quo, they picked the wrong guy. I want change. The department heads have bought into change. We now meet with the division heads on a quarterly basis, so they know exactly what's going on across the spectrum of all our different departments. And they had said to me that they never had the opportunity to talk with the town manager and the assistant town manager to see the big picture. And when you can see the big picture, then you understand the reasons why we do the things that we do. If you don't see that, then you're only in your department or your division, and you're not seeing the cause and effect to some of the decisions that we're making. So, I would say that for me, the big takeaway is what we have a lot more work to do. And I would say this to the community, that there's only one promise I can make. And the only promise that I can make is that next year we're going to do better than we did this year. And then the year after that, we're going to do better than the previous year. That's the only commitment I can make, because that's what we're going to do. We'll continue to make progress. We'll continue to find the areas where we're weak and make those our strengths. And when we're at that meeting today at the EOC, that was the discussion. Like let's act like the $300 million organization that we are.
Because it is a big business when you talk about numbers in that respect, correct? But it is a business that carries a tremendous amount of responsibility.
It is. And, we serve 65,000 people, probably close to 85, 90,000 during the summer months, with second homes and stuff. So, and it's $300 million is a lot of money. And so we have to ask ourselves, are we going to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars? And to me, the answer is yes. So we need to meet those expectations, and the high expectations, the ceiling is high for us, but I know that, we will rise to the occasion and we'll do the things that the residents expect us to do. Again, because it's, they're paying for a service, right? So you wouldn't go to a hotel more than once if you weren't getting the service that you expected, right? So, and that's kind of part of it's part of our mission.
Now, any surprises this year? Any things that surprised you in coming back to town and stepping into your current role?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest surprise to me, so I worked here. So I knew what I was, when people said to me, do you know what you get yourself into? I said, I know what I get myself into. I've worked in bigger organizations in Plymouth. In the 5 years since I've left, I felt like, when I returned, I feel like we're always running at warp speed. I'm always moving. There's always something going on. There's always people to talk to. There's always problems to solve. I didn't feel like it was such of a fast-paced environment when I left here in 2017. So from my perspective, and the assistant town manager and the department heads too, it's not just me. We have to recognize how important our roles are, but at the same time, we have to take care of ourselves and our families too. So for me, trying to find that balance is going to be a challenge, because there's a lot going on, and I don't just say that. And people say it to me all the time, but I think they say it because they're being respectful. But in my mind, I'm like, you have no idea. You really have no idea how much is going on. So,
that it is
so for
constant.
me, that was kind of the biggest surprise as to the pace that I think the pace has changed a lot in the last 5 years.
And like you said, I don't see that slowing down. So the balance is important. Now we literally have 1 minute left. Are there any final things you'd like to say to the community, end of the year, holidays that you'd like to share with them before you see them again in 2023?
Well, like I said earlier, I honestly do mean that, my commitment to the community is we're going to do better each and every year. And so that's one thing I can guarantee. But I think, just in general, I have received a lot of support since my return. And I really appreciate the support, from paid staff, but the boards and committees who often go unrecognized. They're volunteers. They don't get paid $1 to do the things that they do. And we wouldn't be nearly as successful if we didn't have the volunteer boards and committees. So, I thank all of them. And, the residents who don't know me, but they're patient. They have patience. So I appreciate their patience. So that's been great. And the select board, although sometimes they get criticized on Tuesday nights, they have been very supportive of change, and so I appreciate that. So again, a lot of thanks to our success. It kind of spreads all around, but Donna, you and Julie and the whole team at PAC TV, I mean, seriously, like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here, every other week to just have a conversation, to just spread communication, information to the folks that need it most. So thank you for everything that you guys have done.
Well, thank you. And that's what we're here for. And it's wonderful to be able to support the communities and be able to communicate. So happy holidays to you and your family. Happy holidays to all of you as well. And we'll see you next year.